these things I'm going to talk about today. Again, it's the beast seductions and the secret seductions within. And how can we overcome this? Now, this is going to help reveal a lot in a lot of us. God has put it really heavy on me. So just if you can bear with me and just listen to this message, I believe a lot of people are going to be changed today if you can just bear to listen to this. I'll wait for a few more people to come in if they do. If not, no big deal. Just for the one that matters, that's all that matters. So what I'm going to do, God says, and even Matthew 24:24, a false Christ and prophets will arise, perform signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even elect. The thing is, the signs and the wonders, guys, you can think 2,000 years ago, when Yeshua was saying these things, when the prophets were seeing some things 2,500, 3,000 years ago, even in the first century, when the prophets were saying these things that they were seeing, even the prophecy of Revelation that was given to John, the signs and wonders are something that they would never suspect. If they were to resurrect from the dead right now and see everything going on, rise from the grave, they would be amazed to see planes. They would be amazed to see cars going to and from, to people traveling land over sea, not having to even travel by ship. They'll be amazed to see people holding phones and computers and TVs in almost every house. They'll be amazed to see the technology and be blown away. So these are the signs and wonders that we're seeing. And the beast, of course, the whole system is controlling every single thing. If they were to walk into the churches, they would drop dead to see how many false Christs have risen, the false prophets are speaking, and the signs and wonders that are being shown. If possible, even the elect will be deceived. Guys, entertainment is deceiving. It's leading people astray. It's showing great signs and wonders. The signs and wonders that we see with technology and the growing increase of technology is incredible. Not only are we seeing what they're doing with social media and AI technology, blockchain technologies, and things like these, it's rapidly increasing. These are the signs and wonders, and people are being carried away by it. So, in 2 Thessalonians 2:9, look what he says. That the coming of lawlessness was the activity of Satan with all power and signs and wonders. Look what he's saying. Look what he's saying. Now, if we go here, right here, look what he says. And with all wicked deception for those who are perishing because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Therefore, God sends them a strong delusion so that they may believe what is false in order that all may be condemned who did not believe the truth but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Look what he's saying. Had pleasure in unrighteousness. Now, the most incredible thing that God is saying to us, there's something that today, people are being seduced by a seducing spirit. It's coming into the body of believers. It's creeping into the church. It's seducing people by technology. It's seducing people by their own desires and pleasures. And I'm about to tell you how you can overcome these things that are coming, guys. It's coming upon the whole entire world, the face of the earth. Everyone will be tested. And I'm here to tell you, if you're putting a ladder on that house to look over the wall, if you're putting a ladder on top of your roof, you're climbing up and you're peering over, Satan's going to see your eyes. He's going to see you peering. And if he sees you peering, he's going to catch you off guard and he's going to trap you. My friends, if you're looking at your phone and you're looking at pornography, you're looking at something that you were delivered from your past, or maybe you're trying to get delivered from, and you're looking over, God, Satan's going to catch you off guard. He's going to catch you looking. He is more wise than any of us. He knows the Bible more than any of us. He knows the doctrines and theologies more than any of us. He knows God himself more than any of us. But he's still a rebel and still a devil. And this is what he's looking for. He's looking for those that are looking over the wall, that are looking over their house, they're climbing up those ladders and they're looking over and they're being tempted. Don't look over. If you're being tempted to look over, my friends, I'm here to tell you, he will entrap you, he will ensnare you, and he'll drag you right over. It takes a while to climb up that ladder, but it's a quick fall once you start looking over, once you decide to jump over. And I'm here to tell you, it's little bit by little bit. Oh, just a little bit. It's not so bad watching that movie. It's not so bad looking at that little TikTok dance. It's not so bad, watching these cheerleaders dancing on sports games. It's not so bad if I take a little inch and take a little bit of overtime in my job to try to get more and more. Just because I want to try to get more increase and grow more, gain something more in this life because I want a bigger house and bigger car and I'm saving up for this. I want more praise from men. There's something else in this life that's grabbing my attention away from God. I'm telling you, Satan will lure you in if he catches you looking. And we will tell ourselves every single time that we won't get ensnared. We won't get entrapped. Next thing you know, you jumped over that wall. There's people all over the world today that is trying to excuse their marriages. Excuse me. They're trying to excuse their marriages. They're trying to excuse what God has already told them to do, and they're going after something else. They see that their eyes set on something else that is alluring them, that is seducing them. Another woman, another man, a better job that looks better to you, that will take more time away from God, but because it has more money involved that you go after this. My friends, if you are looking at that woman because she looks more godly than the person you are with, your spouse you are with, my friends, you're going straight to the hell, and you're going straight to the death trap that will snare you, that will grab a hold of you and trap you forever and ever, my friends. It's going to be hard to get out. If you're looking at another man and this man looks more godly and you're talking to them and you're married, my friends, you're going down to a pits of hell and you're endangering yourself. We see that the things that are going on today, my friends, if we keep going down these paths, Satan will seduce us. And we will continue to harden our hearts. And we will fight against the truth. The word says that those that fight against it, even in Jude, their minds are wiped clean. They're ensnared to the very things that enslaves them. Let's go to Jude right now so I don't slaughter this, guys. Look what he says. Look what he says. Jude 1:10. Let's go here, right here. Look what he says. But these people blaspheme all they do not understand, and they're destroyed all that they, like unreasoning animals, understand instinctively. Woe to them, for they walked in the way of Cain and abandoned themselves for the sake of gain. Look at that. To Balaam's error and perish in Korah's rebellion. It's rebellion every single time. Rebellion leads us to the pits of hell. It ensnares us and entraps us. The rebellion against God and the truth. So people without instinctively understanding what they don't understand, they go to a different doctrine, a different belief, and they're ensnared in these things. And Satan is waiting to seduce you. He is waiting to ensnare you and trap you to the very things that you once were delivered from. He desires to sift us like wheat. And if he catches you off guard, he will ensnare you. He is smarter than any of us. My friends, he tells us right here in 18 and 19, look what he says. They said to you, in these last times, there will be scoffers following after ungodly passions. It is these who cause divisions, worldly people, devoid of the Spirit. It said because they don't have the Spirit. But you, look what he says. Look what he says. Keep focusing on God, praying in the Holy Spirit. Keep yourselves in the love of God, waiting for the mercy of our Lord, Yeshua the Messiah, Jesus, who leads us to eternal life. It's a fight every single day. But the thing is, when people start turning away from God, their conscience starts getting seared, like in Romans 1. So they start giving over to the works of their flesh, believing that they have the works of God. And I'm going to tell you, if you're in Messianic Judaism, I'm going to take this drink. If you're in Messianic Judaism, there's a doctrine of holiness that people are seeking today. They transform, and instead of denying themselves and surrendering and bowing down to God and allowing him to lead and cleanse their life and change their life and denying themselves and walking in the truth and hearing the truth and being convicted of sin, and the conviction cuts all the way down to the bone marrow, they're not being convicted. My friends, what they're doing is going to a doctrine of holiness. They say, I am righteous. They say I'm okay. So they go to Messianic Judaism and they focus on their works, their outward works, but it's not the works of God. You try to shelter yourself and hide behind a mask because you're putting on a mask because you're taking pictures of your halal bread. You know the holy days. You're singing the songs. You know all the Messianic songs. You know all the Messianic terms. You know the names of Jesus or God, and you're bowing down to these things and you're holding on to these things and you're saying, I am righteous because I do this. I keep the commandments. I obey God. I light my Shabbat candles. I light the wicks. I obey every single holy day and following God's ways. And say what, then next thing you know, what does God say? These people in 1 Timothy 4:3, they forbid people to marry and order them to abstain from certain foods, which God created to receive with thanksgiving by those who believe and who know the truth. My friends, it's all about the holiness. They are seeking holiness, outward appearance and outward works to make themselves feel like they are righteous before God, like they are cleansed, like they are holy and going to make it to the kingdom. And they judge other people and see the log in their eye, but see the splinter in other people's eye, but not the log in their own eyes. My friends, these people be given over to sexual morality and pursuit of unnatural desires. They'll give over to love of money and sexual and sensual desires. My friends, these people will be in internal chains forever because you put on a mask instead of dying yourself, and you fight every single person that is trying to free you from your sin, and you're living in death and judgment, and you're not being free because you have no peace. So you have to run after things that make you feel more holy in order to feel okay. My friends, nothing that you do in this life, you can know the whole entire Torah, know every single commandment, and still be separated from the love of God. And you'll fight against every single person that is telling you to be free, that's telling you the truth. So that's why you have to come against those and be a burden and then trap those and hate those and send verses to everybody and say things that is not even going to be freedom to you. You fight against the very people that can free you, the very things you're fighting against God. They didn't even, look what he says. Yeah, like in the manner, Jude 1:8. Yeah, in the manner of these people, also relying on their dreams, defile the flesh, reject authority, and blaspheme the glorious one. But when the archangel Michael contended with the devil, was disputing about the body of Moses, he did not presume to pronounce a blasphemous judgment, but said, the Lord rebuke you. But look what these people do. Blaspheme all that they do not understand. They are destroyed. Creatures, animals without understanding and acting on their instinct, their impulse, their desires, their fleshly ways. People are mixing the world today. They're mixing cartoons. They're mixing TV. They're mixing things that you're seeing in the world and worldly music and putting it as a Christian or Messianic. They're mixing these sports. They're bringing it to the church, and they're seducing the people that are deprived in the righteousness of God that cannot see the truth. They say they know the grace of God, but they have been robbed by false shepherds. So what people do today, especially when they start rejecting authority, they start going to things like mental health. We got to make sure that people understand the mental health and psychology, that you feel good in your spirit, that you feel good. And if anybody that attacks that feelings, that I have to attack that person. My friends, until you die to yourself, you will not see it. People are going to save the bees and dolphins and fish and rats and elephants and whatever other things. When they reject the authority of God, reject the truth of God, they have to go to other things, but they don't care about saving the people. They'd rather save bugs and animals than God's people. Man. Balaam's error and Korah's rebellion. Devoid of the Spirit, they caused division. My friends, if you are relying on your righteousness, you have enough knowledge to get to heaven, but not enough power to keep you there. Satan is watching. He's waiting to see who is looking over that wall. You live holiness and an outward life, you won't deal with the inward. This is the thing. You look holy in the sight of others, You can deceive everyone around you. You can go to church to feel holy. You can go to synagogue and feel holy. You can go to Torah roots and Messianic and Christianity. You can go to every single thing under the sun. By golly, you can go to Buddhism and Hinduism and Islam and Judaism and everything else under the sun. You still won't find the grace of God, because there's only one way, one truth, and one life. Until you put yourself up on that altar and you crucify yourself, you will never see the grace and the freedom and the peace of God. And you'll have to find different things in this life in order to find your peace, but you will not find it. You'll seek yoga, you'll seek meditation, you'll seek things that soothe you, and you sit there and stare at a screen. Now watch a screen and meditate, repeat these words after me. You can do all your incantations and you will still not find the freedom of God. You can sit there and take pictures about how you set your cedar plates. You'll still not find the grace of God. I bet your Messianic church has sports in there just like your Christian church. They're both mixing. But you know some Messianic terms and some Jewish, Hebraic, and Hebrew words, so it makes you righteousness. Righteous. Meanwhile, you're sitting here with your essential oils and stroking your vegetables and planting, and all you're focusing is taking pictures of your plants, but you make yourself look holy because, look, I'm abstaining from the ways of the world and separating myself from the world, and I'm living off grid, and I'm doing these things, and I look holy in the sight of other people. I'm congregating at Messianic. I'm wearing a head covering. I'm wearing a prayer shawl, and I'm wearing a kippah, whatever it is. You make yourself look holy. You're making yourself look holy because you're abstaining from the world, looking like someone that's Amish. No offense to them, but you're saying, I am holy, and you take pictures and post it all online, and you're singing all these Judaic songs, and you look holy, but you're not separated from the grace of God. My friends, even in Christianity, you're going to a church and listen to a pastor, and they're putting Star Wars in your church. They're baptizing tons of people and tell you to go donate in this box. Go donate here. Go donate here. Look what we're doing, how God is moving in our ministry, and the ministry is completely dead, but you have people coming in hordes and droves by the hundreds, and they're saying it's the grace and awakening of God. My friends, this is death. This is not awakening. When people are going to church for sports and games. Look what he says in Malachi. Satan catches you looking over. He's going to catch you slipping. You climb that ladder, you keep peeking over the house, you keep looking over the wall, you're eventually going to jump. Satan's going to trap you. Don't think you're more stronger than him. And don't go to a place of saying, I'm righteous by doing these works to cover up your sins. God sees it all. It's all exposed. Behold, Malachi. Let's go to actually. Look what he says. Look what he says. Malachi 1:12. But you are profaning it when you say the table of Adonai is defiled. It has for its fruit. Its food is despicable. You also say it's so tedious. And you sniff at it, says Adonai Zavayot. So you bring plunder, the lame and the sick. Look what he says. The lame and the sick, you're bringing these people. Then you bring them as an offering. Should I accept this from your hand, says Adonai? Moreover, curses a deceiver who has his flock a male, but makes a vow and a sacrifice something blemished to the Lord. For I am a great king, says Adonai Zavayot. My name shall be revered among the nations. That's what people are doing. They're bringing people into the churches that are defiled, that are sick and lame. Yes, we try to reach these people, but then they are not delivering them and making them wash clean, and making them undefiled, and making them without spot or blemish for a sacrifice to God. But they're bringing them into the church and allowing them to live this way because the shepherds are not shepherding the flock, nor do they care for the people. So they're making you twice the sons of the devil, trying to make proselytes and converts of you. And that's what the churches and the synagogues are doing today. So now, Kohanim, the priest, we are supposed to be priests. We're considered priests. This commandment is for you, all of us. If you will not listen and if you will not take to heart to give glory to my name, stop seeking your name. Glorify God. Says, then I will send the curse on you and will curse your blessings. Yes, indeed, I have cursed them because you did not take it to heart. Behold, I am rebuking the seed on account of you and will spread dung on your faces and dung on your festivals and take you away together with it. People don't like my songs because I say things like poop, God's already saying he'll spread dung on. I didn't say it. Take it away altogether. Then you'll know that I have sent this command to you to be my covenant with Levi. My covenant was with him for life and shalom, peace. And I gave them to him for reverence, so he revered me. But the problem is, for Kohen's lips, in verse 7, should guard knowledge and instruction must be sought from his mouth, for he is a messenger of Adonai Zavaot. But you have turned from the way. You caused many to stumble in Torah by the instructions. You corrupted the covenant of the Levites, says Adonai Zavaot. So I have made you despise and lowlight to all the people because you are not keeping my ways, but show favoritism in Torah. That's what's going on today. They're putting people in the power. People are seeking those that have power, that have authority, that have fame, that have fortunes. They're seeking these people. And because they have profaned God's laws, now there's famine in the land. And God is allowing these people to seek these people. And you will soon be lowlight in all the nations. Everybody will despise you. And that's why people are stumbling in the Torah, because they don't obey. They simply do not obey the word of God or submit. They simply do not obey the word of God nor submit. Look what he says. Look what he says. Let's go to Haggai. Look at this, 3. Then the word of Adonai came through Haggai the prophet. It is time for yourselves to dwell in your paneled houses while this house lies in ruins. But now this is Adonai Zavaot. Set your hearts on your ways. You sowed much, but bring in little. You eat, but are never satisfied. You drink, but are not enough to get filled. You put on clothes, but no one is warm. And whoever earns wages works for a bag full of holes. My friends, people are turning from God. They're turning from his ways. They're no longer seeking his grace. They have turned from him. They're seeking being seduced by the seducing spirits. My friends, I'm here to tell you. Remember that attachment to the world leads to jealousy. And where jealousy, it leads to rage. Where rage, it leads to selfish ambition, factions and feuding. All these things lead to pride and arrogance of life, my friends. This is what I'm telling you. If there's one thing that I'm telling you right now, you must seek the face of God. He is trying to catch people off guard by their seductions. He's trying to lure you back into the flesh, and he will catch you in your flesh. He will catch you off guard so that you will not see the grace of God. He's trying to pull you out. People have enough knowledge to get to heaven, but not enough power to keep them there. This is what's going on today. This is what's going on today. Look what he says. Let's go to 1 Peter 1:14. Look what he says. As obedient children, do not be conformed to the passions of your former ignorance, but as who called you is holy, so also be holy in all your conduct. Since it is written, you shall be holy as I am holy. Man. Look what he says. 17. And if you call on him as Father who judges impartially according to each one's deeds, conduct impartially, or conduct yourselves with fear throughout the time of your exile. We are exiled on earth. We're supposed to be exiled right now from the ways of the world, guys. We are supposed to be set apart for holiness and the righteousness of God. You are not going to do it by your own works, but it's going to be by the humility in your heart and the desire that you have in your heart to obey God's words and not mock and scoff after things that you know is right. But it has to do with world. If you're mad at somebody that talks about sports, you're mad at somebody that talks about your addiction to your TV or your gluttony or things like these, my friends, pornography, your love of money, your love of your job, your love of your career, your love of your climbing that career ladder, your seductions of the world, being lured away by different women and different men. If somebody's telling you, you have pride and arrogance, my friends, most of the people will come to you and say that you are prideful and arrogant when they themselves are prideful and arrogant because they can't see what's secretly inside. So they try to put a mask on by reading a word, trying to figure out everything that they can in this word, but they're still not seeing the grace of God. They're still not being delivered and seeing his heart. Because they're trying to seek knowledge, but not the knowledge of God's heart. They're seeking something in this life to gratify that flesh, to cover it up. So they seek something of holiness to mask it. So eventually you will go back to death. You will go back to sensual desires and passions of the flesh. You'll be seduced because Satan's going to catch you looking. You can try to deceive others and fight against God's people, but God sees everything. And so does Satan see you slipping, and God will allow you to choose the death that you want. Life or death. If you're peeking over that wall, he sees you peeking over the roof of the house and he sees what's on the other side. It looks appealing to you. You might get caught astray. You will fall into the pit. Once you take the desire, choose to jump. You will. You will. You will. If you are not dead to self, look what he says. Let's go to 1 Peter 2:8. 1 Peter 2:8. Look what he says. A stone of a stumbling and a rock of offense. They stumbled because they disobeyed a word as they were destined to do. Don't tell people to pray for you and you're struggling. When you're willfully choosing to neglect and disobey the word of God. If you want to keep fighting against the word, you're not going to have power or peace. You're not going to have rest of your soul. And that's why people are going to the Messianic and Torah roots movement, because they're trying to give a doctrines of holiness to make themselves look right. Now, maybe your heart's pure. Maybe that you are truly sincere about these ways. That's okay. I'm not talking about you. But if you are trying to show off to other people, and meanwhile you're fighting with your spouse, you're fighting with your husband, your wife, and meanwhile you're sitting here looking at whatever people are doing on their phones or your computer. Oh, wow, they have a really great life. Look at all that they have. They just bought a new house. They got a new car. And look, they're doing a lot of travels. Wow, they got a promotion, but why ain't I? Why am my husband working this hard? Why am my wife doing this? Well, maybe because you have a disgusting heart and you should repent. Don't mask it by some Torah. Don't mask it by keeping the holy days and say, I'm righteous. Don't mask it by sports. Don't mask it by activities in your fun barbecues. In your continuous week after week, you can't wait. You don't care to get along with God, but you can't wait to ride your bikes and go jogging every week and go to the gym. Some of you mothers are so tired, worn out. You know, you're running around in your minivans with a soccer ball in the back, running your kids sports to sports, church to church activities. And well, they got to memorize the verses. Well, maybe you should take time with them and slow down and you have peace. Maybe take a walk with your husband some here and now and then. Maybe your husband should smash his TV. I'm speaking to somebody. Women, your children see the way you treat your husband. Husbands, your daughters see the way you treat your wives. Stop looking at other people's relationships saying, oh, wow, look at that. Then you get jealous at these people because their relationship is good, right? So then you want that. You're going to harden your heart. My friends, I'm telling you, if you keep looking at the world, you getting tempted, you keep letting your eyes, again, the TV has nothing but Sodom and Gomorrah all over it. But then you have these people that want to, well, we're going to have some Christian movies. You have some Christian movies. I don't remember the one right now. The Chosen? Garbage. Absolute garbage. But it's messianic and we have a great messianic singers on there. So we must watch this because it helps us. If you want to watch that stuff, it's garbage. My friends, I have warned time and time again. You're going to put a false image of who God is in your mind and you're not going to know his heart here. But they're saying the words of God. They're reading from the Bible. I don't care. I'd rather not have a single image, but God give me images. Him give me the videos. Him give me the prophecies. Him give me the visions that he's given me. I don't want something from some stupid Hollywood that's trying to make money. But it has messianic on it. They keep Torah. I don't care. They burn the Torah. They destroyed the menorahs, even though they say, well, I got a menorah in my house. I got the Torah right here. I'm walking with the Torah. Everybody kiss it and let's all praise and worship it. They're burning it. I see a burden while they're walking with me because their hearts are full of pig meat. I'm going to get some messages later. I'm sure people that are close to me are probably going to receive some messages. I can't. That guy brings fear into me. He upsets me. Well, don't you ever think that God might be upset with you? I'm just saying. Let's go move along. Look what he says. 1 Peter 2:16 through 18. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover-up for evil, but living as servants of God. Honor everyone. Love your brotherhood. Fear God. Honor the emperor, the king. Servants, be subject to your masters with all respect, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the unjust. Man. We must endure suffering just as he endured suffering. Look what he's saying. Let's go to 1 Peter 3. Look what he's saying. 1 Peter 3, 4 through 5. Look what he says. But let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart with imperishable beauty. I'm sorry. Wrong one. 3:12. 3:10 through 12. Let's go here. Let me slow down a minute. For whoever desires to love life and see good days, let him keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. This is Torah, guys. Let him turn away from evil and do good. Let him seek peace and pursue it. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their prayer. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. It's clear. God will not hear your prayers if you're doing evil. Let's go to 1 Peter 4, 1 through 2. Since therefore Christ suffered in the flesh, Yeshua suffered in the flesh, arm yourselves with the same way of thinking, for whoever has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. You must go through the fiery trials, so as to live for the rest of your time in the flesh, no longer for human passions, but for the will of God. For the time that is past suffices for doing what the Gentiles want to do, living in their sensuality, their passions, their drunkenness, their orgies, their drinking parties, and their lawless idolatries. Look in verse 7. The end of all things is at the hand. Therefore, be self-controlled and sober-minded for the sake of your prayers. Above all, keep loving another earnestly, since love covers a multitude of sins. Show hospitality to one another without grumbling. The people that grumble are not serving. The ones that are serving are doing it with false humility. It's so that they can feel good about themselves. How many people are serving because they love God, expecting nothing in return? Because they love God and see his grace, they want to show the grace and love others and serve others. Man. Look at this, 2 Peter 2. Let's go to 2 Peter 2. Look what he says. 2 Peter 2, 3, 13 through 14. Suffering wrong. Okay. Is that the right one? Yeah. Suffering wrong as the wages for their wrongdoing. They count it as pleasure to revel in the daytime. There are blots and blemishes reveling their deception while they feast with you. They feast with you. How many people, again, some of the people that betrayed, even I the most, just like with Yeshua, they feasted with me. They will feast with you. They'll tell you I love you and sweet things. Look at, but you'll always see in someone's eyes, even if they're a betrayer, but you still love them. There are spot and blemishes reveling in their deceptions while they feast with you. They have eyes full of adultery, insatiable for sin. They entice unsteady souls. They have hearts trained in greed, accursed children forsaking the right way. They have gone astray. They have followed the way of Balaam and the son of Beor, who loved gain from wrongdoing, but was rebuked for her own transgression. Man, look at this. Look at this. We cannot fight against other people. If we call somebody else prideful or arrogant, my friends, be careful that you're not prideful or arrogant in your heart. If you're hating somebody because of a word that's being spoken, maybe we should close our mouths and sit in silence and start fasting and weeping before God. Fast and wait for God. Close our thoughts, close our minds, close our hearts, close our desires, our wants, our needs. Close these things. Our self-will, our self-ambition, our goals, our dreams, our desire for success, our dreams that we have of the future, our expectations that we want for right now, the things that we want for our flesh right now, the things that we want to satisfy us right now. These are the very temptations that Satan is coming against. He is alluring and seducing people with the spirit of seduction. That's causing people to be led astray from the grace of God, so that they don't see the heart of God, so they can no longer hear and see his words. You once knew his words, but now you're reading his words and you're seeing it with deception in your heart. Blasphemy in your heart. Wrongdoing, because you twist this for however you want. And people will be given over and see however it fit they want in this word to fit whatever lifestyle they want. Whatever comes will be in this word, and just as Satan came to Yeshua, Jesus, and spoke words from his word, and he twisted it and lied from the words of Deuteronomy itself, so will Satan come from every single thing that you know in this word and use it against you. It's not always God that you're hearing. You gotta make sure it's from God and not from your own heart or from Satan or a deceiving spirit or some other demonic spirit or presence upon you. You have to make sure that you are dead to self and do not have any idols or sin or desire or sexual morality or lust or goals or dreams in this life, that something is not taking you away from the grace of God, that something is not alluring you or captivating you, that's causing you to be the enemies against your brothers and sisters and mock and gossip and betray each other. My friends, right now is a choice to be set free, not to be entangled by the flesh. You must overcome. You must overcome this flesh and the sinful desires. Right now, you must be free. You must be free. Stop allowing the flesh to rule your life. You must be free. When you're in your sin, when you're having these desires, this devil will tell you you're saved. Or when you're entrapped, he'll say you can't escape this. Don't trade a moment of pleasure for eternity of suffering. Fear God. Then you'll understand his instructions. And fear those that are speaking the word of God instead of fighting against each other. If somebody blocks you, it's probably for a good reason. Forgive them. Love them. Somebody stops talking to you, let them go. Pray for them. Guard your heart. Protect yourself. Now let's move on. 2 Peter 3. Remember what he said, that people would come in the last days with scoffing, following their own sinful desires. People believe they know that the coming is here, but they're still saying in their heart, where is this promise of his coming? But they put on a false mask of righteousness because they do not believe that he's truly coming back. If they did, they would be at peace. If they were, they'd be at rest instead of fighting everybody. What I'm saying is, the people that are fighting against those that are coming against your lifestyle or your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own doctrines, your own I thinks, your own self-will, you come against those people and you use the word of God. First of all, when somebody comes to me and starts using verses, anybody comes to you and starts using verses as an argument and gives you chapter and verse, run. He says that these people are dividers. They're mockers and scoffers. He says, warn a divisive person once and twice have nothing to do with them. You don't treat them as an enemy, my brother. Everyone. You treat them. It's kindly. Sometimes they need a firm rebuke, but then you let them go. Let's go on. Let's move along. 2 Peter 3:11. Since all these things are thus to be dissolved, everything's going to be burnt up. What sort of people ought you to live in lives of holiness and godliness? Someone came to me today and said, as somebody saying that the return of Christ has already come. And people that say that already say that, it already says in Timothy that these people have wandered away from the truth. They're causing people to fall away from the faith. This is exactly what's here today. They forget. Remember, Revelation was written after 70 AD. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the heavenly bodies will be burnt up and dissolved, and the earth and the works that are done in it will be exposed. Since all these things are thus to be dissolved, what sort of people ought you to be in lives of holiness and godliness, waiting for hastening coming of our day of our God, because which the heavens will be set on fire and dissolved, and the heavenly bodies will melt as they burn. But according to the promise, we're waiting for the new heavens and new earth in which righteousness dwells. If you're not seeking righteousness now and living in it, my friends, you will not see eternal life, but eternal condemnation, eternal fire. These are the things that result from those that are high-minded, haughty and proud, boastful, that disrespect, that hate authority. My friends, no matter what, whether I support the government or not, I don't support the wickedness. I still will respect the government no matter what, but I will not bow down to homosexuality. I'll not bow down to feminism. I'll not bow down to Black Lives Matter. I'll not bow down to these agendas. I'll not take a vaccine. These are the things we're not bowing down if it opposes God. But other than that, you respect authority. And when I speak out against a pastor or somebody, I'm speaking out because they have games and activities and all this drunkenness in their church. Looks like a nightclub rather than looks like a cruise ship rather than a battleship for God. It's amazing how Ravenhill even knew that. People from long ago knew these things. Man. Look at this. Therefore, beloved, in verse 3:14 of 2 Peter, beloved, since you are waiting for these, be diligent to be found by him without spot or blemish and at peace, and count the patience of our Lord as salvation. The patience. If you're being patient in overcoming all the trials and tribulations, I'm telling you, he'll keep you from the trials and the tribulation that's to come. It doesn't mean rapture. It means the tribulation, the testing. Because what does he say? The rats that were poured out, every trumpet, every bowl, these people still kept in their sins and they cursed God and shook their fist. Even when they killed God's people, they shook their fists and cursed God. 100-pound hailstones. The blood turning to water where every single living thing in the sea was killed. Meanwhile, people are focusing on saving the dolphins, but not saving God's Torah and his righteousness. Let me turn off these comments for a minute. Man, when are we going to be ready? When are we going to be ready? First John 2:4. Whoever says I know him but does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, in him truly the love of God is perfected. By this we may know that we are in him. Whoever says he abides in him ought to walk the same way that he walked. This is no new commandments. This is from the beginning. He says it right here as you go on. The problem is that people are going to Torah They're going to some other belief or religion or doctrine. Nazarene movements, whatever the garbage, the Torah roots, the Hebraic roots, the name movement, all these different things are nothing but another cult to make you feel righteous, but not realizing that the man of lawlessness is already enslaving you and trapping you. You focus on your outward works. You may abstain from meats. These might be all good things. You might, not be a murderer. You might not have a problem with porn. You might not have a problem with alcohol. You might not have a problem with drugs. But you might have a problem with love of money. You might be a secret gossiper. You might be slandering your neighbors and hating one another. These are the secret things we need to be looking at. Not fighting those and somebody that's truly speaking and say, well, you're arrogant. You're prideful. Look at yourself. Worry about yourself. You're not going to point the finger in heaven. Well, him, well, he or she. It's just you and him. There's no lawyers. There's no tribunals, guys. There's no bail bonds. There's no second chances in the kingdom. Either you crucify with Christ and Yeshua right now, or it's you perish in the kingdom forever. In hell. You will not enter the kingdom no matter how many say, Lord, 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 Lord. I casted out demons. Look how many people filled your church. Look how many people came. Look how many people I baptized. Look, I went to this church and they baptized many people. Many people are saved. Look, I listened to this preacher, that sermon. I listened to Todd. I listened to Greg Hirschberg. I listened to Mick. I listened to Ravenhill. I listened to Wilkerson. I listened to Tozer. I listened to whatever else false preachers are out there. I'm not naming these people are false. I'm saying whatever false preachers, Jack Hibbs and all these other people. You can listen to all these different people because they're doing many things. We go to these internet preachers that look like they're doing many things, taking pictures of themselves up on stage while people are crying in the stands. Who you think you're serving? And people follow this. Well, they stand against vaccines. They stand against this. They stand against this. So will the devil be everything. He'll come in as angel of light and he'll deceive every single one of you. Set your minds and the things on the kingdom above, not on earth. You're going to have to learn to walk alone, but love everybody. Love your brothers and sisters. Not everybody. You love people, hate the sin. I despise the sin every single day. God does too. But he's patient, waiting everybody to come to repentance. No one to perish, but all to come to repentance. This is what he's waiting for. But we can't stop. We can't ignore our hearts. What God is trying to woo us, he was trying to reach us. He can't reach it when there's briars there. He can't reach it when there's thistles there. He can't reach it when you're looking over the wall and you're amazed by the things going on and you want to participate in these activities. You want a part of these seductions. My friends, some of you are being lured in right now. You're being lured in right now. And you're about to jump over. And it's going to be a hard fall if you make that decision. Lust is the strongest group, the strongest sin that can ever seduce a single person. It puts more hormones into you, floods your body with more hormones. Same with pornography than any other drug, any other sin, any other thing out there. That's why he says to flee from sexual immoralities, flee from these things. And the next thing, you have the love of money. These always go hand in hand and people can't see none of others. And I'm here to help some of you. I can't save you, but I'm here to tell some of you. I can't help you and tell you what to choose. But if you're coming to this messianic Torah roots movement, trying to follow Torah, all these things are fine. But if you're following the movement, you'll be led astray. If you're not seeking God for God instead of a movement, you'll be led astray. If you think doing something following this is going to bring you closer to God, maybe. But is your heart right? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Is our heart right? Why is my intentions for following God? What is my intentions for doing these things? What is my intentions for helping somebody? What is my intentions for serving God? What is my intentions for prayer? What is my intentions for getting alone with God and waiting for him and sitting, whether it's hours or whatever, to hear the voice of God, to feel his presence? How many will sit there and wait, laying beside the throne of God, waiting for him to speak? Thank you, God. When people can't wait for God, they have to run to something else in order to satisfy that restlessness. Let me say that again. When you cannot wait for God and rest upon him and his true word, you'll run in restlessness and depart from the true doctrine and faith of God for something else. To appease your flesh, to soothe it. Then you'll become angry at the very thing that could free you. I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody. I don't even know who's watching right now. But if there's one thing, God is calling some of you to not be ruled by the passions and desires of the flesh. Faith is not feelings and emotions. Faith is believing and knowing this word. The more you know this, the more you know the heart of God. It's not going to make you prideful. It's going to make you more humble and make you realize how unworthy you truly are more and more. But yet you're going to have a power more and more to overcome sin, a more power to overcome temptation, to overcome the desires and of the flesh that keep trying to pull you back. You will not be seduced. Satan won't even touch you because he knows that God's Holy Spirit is written all over you, that nothing will get through. He will not see the breach in the wall. If there's a crack in the foundation, Satan will slither his little snaky head in and he'll creep in, plant all kinds of bad seeds in your yard, your garden that was once green. Where's these spots coming from? Where's these weeds coming from? Where is this coming from? A little bit of leaven will ruin a whole batch of dough. So would a little bit of pounding from Satan, or a little bit of not a solid foundation. The plaster is not there on the wall to make it strong. The firm foundation, so these things will fall apart. It'll start to crack at the foundation because God's word is not building it up. The true faith. Man can't come and put plaster on the wall. God has to do it. But the moment you start allowing God to build that foundation and allow man to start doing it, then there start being pounding and cracks. And Satan will find that breach in the wall because when you're not paying attention, because you're too busy looking over the wall, and eventually you're going to jump over the wall. Meanwhile, he infiltrated your whole entire garden. Look here. Thank you. 2 Peter 2:20. For if, after they have escaped the defilements of the world, after the knowledge of our Lord, Yeshua the Messiah, they are again entangled in them and overcome, the last state has become worse for them than the first. For it would have been better for them to never know the way of righteousness than to knowing it and turn back from the holy commandment delivered to them. What the true proverb says will happen to them. The dog returns his vomit, and the sow, after washing herself, returns to wallow in the mire. There's a lot of people right now. Being pierced. If you love me, if you love him, you'll keep his commandments. Every temptation, I'm here to tell you, no temptation has overtaken you, has not come in the man. God is faithful to see you through it all. 1 Corinthians 10:13. If you overcome, you'll become more stronger in your faith. a greater power will come. And I'm here to tell you, God knows the things that you're going through. He knows every trial and tribulation because he was faced with every single one. But guess what? He did not commit sin. And it's because he did not commit sin do we have a power to walk in his ways. So because he wants us to have peace. He doesn't want destruction in any of our lives. He doesn't want destruction in the world. But God is a God of justice. How long can he continue to allow these things to go on? The time is short. We're coming to an end. And we're ignoring the call. We're ignoring it. We're being stubborn children who carry out the plans of their own, but not his plan. Isaiah 30. This is the thing. Who make an alliance with others, but not his spirit. That they may add sin to sin. This is what's going on. We cannot allow the flesh to rule us. And say we have the grace of God. And some are having a pity party saying, well, I don't think I'm going to make it, so I guess you just have to go on without me. You know, I'm not going to make it. Stop wallowing in the mud of your filth. Listen, the only one that feels sorry for you is yourself. Those are people praying for you. You have to make a choose to get out of that mud and stop eating the vomit. There's no nutrition in the vomit. That's why dogs go to it and eat the vomit, because they think it's nutritious. It smells good. Sin smells good, but there's no nutrition in it. It's death. You'll throw it right back up. That's why dogs throw it back up. Don't stiffen your neck. Don't stiffen your heart. If you refuse to hear the voice of God calling you, you'll be like Pharaoh and you'll not let his people go. You'll not let the sin go. And you'll be captivated by the signs and wonders that the Pharaoh will do, that the magicians will do. In the sight of other people, he'll do the same things in the sight of God. My friends, but you must be free and delivered. You must not harden your heart like those in Egypt. You must be free and soften your heart so that God may work through it. Rebellion must leave. The seductions of the world must leave. Desires of the flesh must leave. He says in 2 Thessalonians 2:3, let no one deceive you in any way, for the day will not come unless the rebellion comes first. If there's rebellion in your heart, the man of lawlessness is being revealed in you, the son of destruction. Everyone that is committing lawlessness will be destroyed. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. There's only one way. Man, are we going to get it? Are we going to get it? It's either the sin is dissolved in our life or we're dissolved along with his return, when the elements of heaven and the kingdom is dissolved. If this is bringing any type of fear, you're always going to be shaken and pressed before you can come to God. We must be delivered. God wants to free you, but he can't when you're still in Egypt and not putting the blood of the Lamb on the doorposts of your heart and on the foundation of your heart, your house. It's not enough just to do works in this life if the heart is not in it. The Pharisees did more works than any of us today, but their heart was not in it. We can't point to the Pharisees unless we inspect ourselves to make sure that we ourselves are not one. We'll know whether we are or not. Because you won't hear God speak to you. You might be given visions, you might hear a voice, but it's going to be from your own heart. It might be from another man, another woman. It might be the vision from Satan. You got to know. If your heart is truly set on him, you'll have a power to overcome lust. You'll have a power to overcome temptations. The temptations that rule your flesh, they'll always come. But God will give you strength. People say, I'm struggling with sin. You're not struggling with sin, you love sin. There's no sugarcoating that. The truth is that a praying man is not straying, and a straying man is not praying. And those that don't delight in prayer are being deceived. You're at the biggest warning, biggest dangers of this life. The biggest danger is not the world. The world is already the world. The biggest danger is that you already know the grace of God. You have felt it, you have known it, but then you go back to your flesh. The biggest danger is that something is enticing you. That is taking your preoccupation, your time away from God, more than time with God, and your pleasure with him. Your enjoyment with him. Your rejoicing with him. Don't mistake. You cannot rejoice with God when you're bringing in things from the world. Meaning there's churches today, there's synagogues today. They're mixing songs, worldly songs. They're dancing around. Their hands jumping around. They're doing dance routines. They're bringing in sports. They're bringing in cartoons. They're bringing in superheroes. They're bringing in Star Wars. They're bringing in costume parties. They're bringing in, worldly, stupid celebrations. God says he despises your festivals. And if they will deceive you and say, this is rejoicing. This is rejoicing. This is the joy of God. This is not the joy of God. This is not rejoicing, because you're mixing. There's no difference in Antiochus bringing in pig meat along with the Torah. My friends, just because 1,200 people get baptized in California does not mean they're all saved. But they'll read a verse as those who are believe in my name and are baptized will be saved. Simon the sorcerer was baptized and believed to be saved, but he did not have the Holy Spirit. I was praying to God. Asking him what to say. I didn't know how to end this. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to completely speak. He told me that there's a strong deception sweeping the nation and the world. That you must warn firmly and strongly. And do not worry about anyone that despises or anything that someone says. You must make my law known, make his name renowned and glorified amongst the nations. That there are people departing. And it's burdening his heart. that people will be delivered, he said. And when the greater shaking comes, he says, many will be blind, but he will finish his work. Many will be blind. When the shaking starts coming, they will come running. But you have to remember this, just as God has told me. Can a tree grow overnight? It takes time. To know God. But if you're not carefully watering that, it will die. If you start allowing sit in, there will be grubs and bugs that will eat it. I remember when I lived in Georgia, there was something called pine beetles. These pine beetles would eat away at the pine trees. And you see dead pine trees everywhere. Supposedly they're brought in to try to control a certain situation. They're brought in from another nation, supposedly. A foreign belief, a foreign law, a foreign doctrine that is not according to God will eat away at your tree. You can be the most magnificent and strong tree in the whole entire world and still end up dying. Because you do not take care to water it, to make sure it's growing in the nutrients of God, to take time to make sure it's growing. The hard times are coming. And if I didn't say they were, I'd be a liar. And people are still going to listen to this and it's going to go on. Like, it's not going to go. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. What did I say? They say time will go on as it always did from the beginning, the same as my ancestors. Well, time hasn't been the same since your ancestors. We have internet. We have TV. We have cars. We were going to the moon. We have planes. It's not the same as the ancestors. In fact, it's closer to God's return, his wrath and his judgment. We have to be careful that no one leads us astray. And the sad part is people are looking for signs in the moons. They're looking for signs in the stars. They're looking for signs in the sun. There's people that worship these things. There's Christians mixing enneagrams. There's Christians mixing horoscopes and yoga, tantric yoga and Reiki. They're mixing so many things in the world. They're sage burning. They're off-gridding with their sage burning essential oils. Guys, I'm not knocking essential oils. But what I'm saying is people are mixing these things in Torah roots and Hebraic roots, whatever, and Yeshua. Christians are mixing the world. They're mixing sports and entertainment, and the Messianics are too. They're being led astray. Wear your favorite sports jersey. Wear your favorite cartoon. Come have a Halloween celebration on fall festivals. When it was birthed out of necromancing and worshiping the dead, say, I don't worship the dead. Yes, you do, because dressing up in costumes was the very reason people were worshiping the dead. And then we bring it into Purim in Judaism when we just dress up in costumes. My friends, this is disgusting. Christians and Messianics both think that they're holy. You have conservatives and you have Republicans and liberals and Democrats. Both sides are wicked. Both sides are corrupt. And you have both preachers over here shouting Trump when he's holding a homosexual flag. You want to bow down to this? People are just fighting against homosexuality. And now they're shouting to be alongside each side of these people. My friends, the deception is here. The allurement is here. The destruction is here. People are being allured away by their flesh, and they're being enticed by the devil, and they're taking the mark of the beast. They're worshiping his image. They're bowing down to him, and they say, no, I'm not. I worship God. I know Jesus. I know Yeshua. I know his Torah. But you worship the devil and is all his creation. All these things was bowed down, was created by satanic agendas, and you're worshiping it. God told me not to compromise, and I will not. You're going to have to chop it off my head. There is nothing on this earth that will make me deny God whatsoever. I am telling you right now. You got to make sure that you do not deny him right now. Put your sports to death. Stop getting drunk. You don't need all those drugs. Guys, I'm not talking about pharmacies. Nobody should be taking painkillers whatsoever. No, anyway, you don't need that marijuana. Stop telling yourself marijuana and alcohol is to kill the pain. Some of you are going to going to the Torah in order to say, to try to cover up the pain that's actually really deep inside. You got to get deep in there. It has to be uprooted. You say, brother, how can I? How can I? You're speaking all these things, but how does this make sense? How can I? I'm going to tell you one way, and one way very plain and simple. It's no mystery. You're going to have to die to yourself and turn away from your sin. That's it. That's it. If you want to be crucified, you're going to have to go through the pain. He didn't sweat blood for nothing. He didn't shed many tears for nothing. But a time is coming when mourning will be gone, where pain and sorrows will be gone. God is coming back, and those patiently waiting for him. Isaiah 65:2, I spread out my hands all day long to rebellious people who walk in the way that is not good, following their own devices, their own desires, their own thinking, their own beliefs, their own ways. They rebelled and grieved his Holy Spirit. Therefore, he turned them into their enemy and himself fought against them. Isaiah 63:10. The thing is, we fight against God when we refuse to listen to what he's commanding us. You will be eaten by bitten by the serpents. You'll be destroyed by your enemies. And you'll be destroyed by sin if you allow the seductions to overcome you. We cannot allow the seducing spirit. Remember, in Revelation it said the whole entire world was deceived. This is not the world. The beast in his system was the beast in his system, guys. It's always been religion. It's always been political. It's always been economical and business. It's always been education-wise. From old times to present times, it's always been the same. The beast has already ruled over these institutions, have ruled over all these things. And when people have their minds still in these things, you will be overcome by seductions of this life, by a seducing spirit. But you'll still tell yourself that I know God, but it's just empty words. Because of these things, the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Ephesians 5:6. The thing is, the wrath of God will come upon these people. And each one that does not give it up. We have a choice of life or death. If we want to worship Baal rather than God, then that's our choice. We want to worship the creation rather than the Creator, that's our choice. Many claim to worship the Creator, but that is not the Creator that created the Word. His Word created the heavens and the earth and everything that we see with our eyes, everything that we can touch, right? That is nature. But man has created things by human hands and worships these things. The idols of stone, wood, and silver and gold, the things that people work and build. We lust after these things. Things made in factories. Things made in China. Things made in other countries. We want these things. We desire name brand because it has a name brand on it. It came from man. This is all vanity, worthlessness. It has no authority in the kingdom, nor can you take it with you. You will not be looking at the stock market in heaven. You will not be looking at sports stats. You will not be looking at any of these things. You will not be bouncing around church to church. There's only one way, one truth, and one life. All you have to do, all you choose right now is one way, one truth, and one life. One way to the Creator, one way to the kingdom, and that's it. You must crucify yourself and shut everything up that doesn't belong and let it all remove. Rip out your brain, rip out your heart. Allow God to remove it. I'm not saying physically do it, but allow these things. If something causes you to stumble, God is saying you better close it. To rip out your eye means not to physically rip it out. It means to remove it. Stop allowing it to have rulership over you. Submit to God, and then the devil will flee from you. If you submit to his word, the devil will flee from you. But you are not submitting when you think, I have knowledge of his Torah. I have knowledge of this. I do these works. I do these things. You put a mask on, you're deceiving yourself. You can deceive thousands, but you're not deceiving God. Nor are you deceiving the devil because he's sitting there crouching down waiting for you. He sees your head peeking over the wall. He sees your head looking over. He sees you getting lured away. He sees the pride. He sees the arrogance. He sees these things. Why do you call me Lord, Lord? No, not do what he tells you. If he tells you to die to yourself, then why won't you? Revelation 12:9. The devil deceived the whole world, was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him, the demons. They're deceiving people right now. He's deceiving people. For the mind that is set on the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law. Indeed, it cannot. Romans 8:7. You must submit to God. It's not just his law, it's his authority. You can't submit to money to claim to love God. You can't love God in money. Why am I speaking like this? Because I see the very things that are keeping people from God, because God shares his heart with me. I feel his burdens. I feel his grief. I feel his pain. He wants to, just like in Jeremiah 33:8, I will cleanse them from all guilt and their sin against me, and I'll forgive them of the guilt and their sins rebelling against me. If you just give it up, you got to give it up. These very things that you're holding on for your protection, for your security, is not the things that are securing you in the kingdom of God. You have to make a choice. Forsake your idols, forsake yourself, forsake